My name is Akhilesh and I'm a non-technical team member of GDSC.
Hey, I'm Govind. I'm a technical and non-technical member.
So, how many of you know HTML? And okay, so HTML is a prerequisite required for learning CSS. And I will ask the question, what is CSS? So, CSS is used to control the style of the web document in a simple and easy way. The CSS stand for the acronym known as Cascading Style Sheet, and this tutorial is going to cover CSS1, CSS2 and CSS3, thus giving a brief introduction what is CSS. And coming forward, like why to learn CSS? So as I said, CSS handles the look and feel of a website. Look and feel, that means it is going to be used to design the fonts, the website padding, and adding some images to the background, like it makes our documents beautiful. Second, to become a web designer, you can't be a web designer without learning HTML and CSS. So this CSS is a must for students as well as the working professionals to begin their career as a web designer. Control web. Here, you know that CSS handles the web. How? There are some websites which you can't use it without CSS. That might be difficult of you without using the CSS. So CSS is easy to learn, but without CSS, a website is not cannot be used. For example, I can show one of the websites here. You know DuckDuckGo. This website is known for its security. Here I can clearly see what is DuckDuckGo and where to search. But that can anyone tell what is that? That is same DuckDuckGo, but without any CSS used there. So you can see like there's a drastic change between these two websites. Okay, even though they are both same. So this shows like how CSS is important, like how much the CSS is important in our web development domain. Coming to the last fourth point, learning other languages. If you know HTML and CSS, then rest all related technologies like JavaScript, PHP, Angular, it becomes very easy to learn. So these are the reasons why we need to learn CSS. That's first is creating a stunning website, second is becoming a web designer, third is controlling web, and fourth is learning other languages. Now you saw like why to learn CSS. Now here I will be explaining like what are the applications of CSS. So CSS saves time. That means HTML can be used to make a website. Even though you can make a website through HTML, but CSS what it does is it gives a feel to a website. Without CSS, a normal user might find inconvenient to use the website. Pages load faster. Here, through HTML, as I said, you can make a website, but the problem with problem with that website is you will be writing the same code again and again. But once you use CSS, you just have to write the rule for one time, and that rule you can use it again and again to run that page. So that means you have a very less code. As you have a very less code, that means your web page will load faster. Third, user maintenance. In CSS, you know that there is something known as global attribute. In that, you have to change the attribute for once. It will change the entire format of the website. That is known as like global attribute. I will be teaching ahead. And fourth is superior styles to HTML. Again, as I told that you can make a website through HTML, but the problem is with CSS you have a lot of other functionalities which HTML does not have. So you can make a website which is far superior from the website which you have made from HTML. Fifth, multiple device compatibility. As I showed in the previous slide, that's a DuckDuckGo. We use a DuckDuckGo a lot of times. We use it in our laptops, we use it in our phones, we use it in our tablets. all of them has a different screen sizes. But even though we are having a different screen size, but we can use DuckDuckGo in all of them, all of the devices, just because we use CSS, and that helps to use that same website in different devices compatibility. This property of CSS to use in different devices helps us to create a website which is compatible with all of the devices. Last, global web standards. In the starting of the web develop, like in the starting of web era, we used to write the codes in HTML only. But nowadays, CSS is must. If you use a website and you create a website without the use of CSS, there might be a chance that your website won't work in future. So keeping having some future standards kept in our mind, we have to use CSS to make our website future proof. You might be thinking like who made HTML, who made CSS, and how is this getting maintained? So there's a group named W3C. There are some members in W3C which are known as CSS working groups. These CSS working groups gives recommendations and make documents for the CSS and other related technologies related to internet. What this group does, it makes a recommendation as per their basis, and this recommendation when passed through W3C, it becomes a standard for everyone to follow it. You might think like what is W3C? W3C is the worldwide consortium. This is a group of people who make recommendations on how the internet works and how it should evolve. So the HTML, CSS, and all the related technologies like JavaScript or the Angular or React.js, all of them are being recommended by W3C. W3C made CSS1 in 1996, CSS2 in 1998, and present time we are using CSS3, which is the latest version of this is the latest version which is used in web development. In CSS, there are something known as style rules. These are the formal rules which we have to follow while creating a web page and while using the CSS. This style rules is having like this style rule is having three parts, that is selector, property, and value. The while writing the style rules, we have to remember that selector comes first and property then value. You might think what is selector? Selector is that HTML tag on which the value and property is getting imposed. That means the CSS, as I told, it gives a look and feel to the website. So this selector, for example, you have a body tag or you have a paragraph tag. If you give a value of property like border and red or color red, so what it will does is the selector will get a value from the property as well as uh, value. Okay, like for example, property gives the color and value gives the number of color or the hex values of the color. So selector can be tell us like selector can be called as the main attribute on which this property is getting superimposed. Property gives the defined like it gives the property to the selector. Property can be something like color or font, the design, and value is given to the property. Value can be like in case of color that can be a hex value or a color directly, and for font, it can be the size which is in px. Here we can see a selector is stable and declaration we have given a border. And the values which are given is 1px solid and has COO. That means this table will get a border of 1px which is solid and the hex color will be this. Now, now as I told, we have three set of rules, that is selector, property, and value. Selectors have some certain types of there are certain types of selectors which are very common in CSS. So the first is type selector. In type selector, what we do is we give a property to a particular type of attribute or particular type of tag. For example, in type selector, we can see that the h1 tag got a color of has 36CFF. That means this color is going to be superimposed on h1 tag. Secondly, this h1 tag is a localized tag, and this type selector is used for localized tag. But the second one, which is a universal selector, here we choose a value of hash 000, which is black. So what it does is it will make the entire website black. This is a universal selector. That means this is for the this can be considered as a global selector also, because the entire website, the entire CSS can be changed through only one of the selectors. But this is a local selector, that is type selector. Then comes the descendant selector. Here we can see something known as UL. You would have studied in HTML that UL is unlisted alphanumeric code where we are giving some list to the unordered, like it's an unordered list where we are giving the item or we are saving it, and here EM is the tag name. So if I write color has 0, that is black, then this black will get superimposed on this EM if this EM lies in under unlisted order. Okay, so if EM is unlisted order, then it will get a value of #000. And then comes the class selector. Here we give a property to a class. Class has one of its like unique identifier is dot. This dot tells us that whether a attribute or whether a tag is a class or not. For example, if I give a class that is here, the black is one of the class where the color of black will get superimposed on the p tag. Everything which is there in the p tag will get black color because of this class selector. Similar to this, there is something known as ID selector. ID and class selector are not much different. Instead of dot, we use hash, which is also known as ID. Here, I can use hash to give this an ID, and the property of black will get superimposed on this ID. Then comes the child selector. Child selector says that here we can see an example that body is greater than P. What it says is if the paragraph lies in that body, it will get the color of black. Otherwise, it won't. So, for example, if I gave a paragraph here and that lies in under the body, which is in HTML, like in HTML tag, you know, we have a body tag as well as a paragraph tag. So, if P lies within the body, then it will get a black color. This is known as child selector. Now, Govind will continue the further tutorial.
Thank you, Achilles. So, my name is Govin, and good afternoon, everyone. So, without any further delay, let's go into learn what is measurement units. So, see, in CSS, CSS supports various measurement units such as absolute units and relative units. In absolute units, we have pixels, inches, centimeter, etc. And in relative units, we have percentages, fonts, font sizes, and etc. So these are like units. When we say force is 10 newtons, Newton is n, right? That is unit. So in the same way, let's say border is 5 pixel. So here pixel is a measurement unit. So we need measurement unit to include measurement in our style sheet so that we'll apply the values. And coming to colors in CSS, I believe colors is the important topic in CSS because CSS is all about designing stuff and and bringing the colors to our website, right? So there are many ways which we can include our colors to our elements. Those are hex code, short hex code, RGB percentage, RGB absolute, and keyword. So I guess most of you heard what is RGB at some other point of time. That is red, green, and blue. We'll get any color by using these three colors. So, and the most common format we use to color an element is keyword and RGB absolute. So coming to background, I would like to say one thing. These are just a few important properties which we use frequently, which we encounter frequently while building our website. So there are many other properties as well. So I hope people who attended this event go back and check out what are the other properties in background, text, fonts, etc. So coming to properties in background, first one is background color. So background color is a property which will bring background color to an element. So the second one is background image. Background image is a property which will add background image, which will add image to our background, and background repeat. When we add images to our code, we can't. I mean, it's unpredictable. Images will repeat itself so that it will fill the entire code, right? So we can control that using background repeat property. So background position, it is a property which we'll use to it will assign the starting position to a background image. And coming to background attachment, we'll assign it when we open a website. We'll see images. When we scroll, the images will go up, right? This called there the background attachment value is scroll. So when we keep it as fixed, even though we scroll, the image will be stay there only. It will be fixed. So coming to background size, it is a property which will adjust the size of an image. So coming to text, there are few properties as well. So the first one is text align. It is a property which is used to align the text of a document. Second is text decoration. It is a property which is used to underline, overline, strike through a text. The third one is line height. It is a property which is used to change the height of a line. Fourth one is line letter spacing. By using this property, we can change the spaces between our letters in a word. In a word, yeah. Fifth one is text transform. It is a property which is used to transform our text to capitalize or uppercase or lowercase. So coming to fonts, there are only few properties. So first one is font family. The font family is a property which assigns a font to an element. The second one is font size. Font size is a property which is used to change the size of an element. And font weight is a property which is used to highlight, we can increase the thickness or decrease the thickness by using this property. And the fourth one is font style, which is used to change the font style of an element. So coming to box model, in box model there are three things to be discussed. That is borders, margins, and padding. Borders, in borders there are three properties. That is border width, border color, and border style. Border width, it means it will decides the width of the border. Border style is a property which decides the style of a border. That is like dotted dash and solid, etc. And coming to border solid color, yeah, border color, it will decide the color of the border. So the second one is padding. Padding is a property which decides the distance between content box of an element and the border. And margin is the distance between two elements. This is the for a form which is made by using HTML, and let's see how it looks when CSS is not included. This is how it looks when CSS is not included, and we have learned font size, border weight, and all the stuff, right? We can apply these things. So first thing, we can apply a background image, that is by using background image property. I'll copy the URL which I'll link my CSS to my HTML file. So you can see I have added a background image, but the image has repeated multiple times so that it can fill the whole body. So as we discussed, we can use border background position property to keep the position of the image back, and background attachment property to see whether we can scroll it or not. This is the code. I'll just uncomment it. So this is how it looks when we keep scroll position in background attachment, and we'll keep background repeat as no repeat so that we can see only one image, and we can keep background sizes cover so that it will cover entire body without leaving any gaps. We can see button here, right? So we'll get this button by using border radius, border width, and border radius, and border style, which we have discussed earlier. So I have used border width as 2 pixel, border radius as 50%, so that we'll get that curves at the corners, and border style as dotted. And padding I have added 10 pixels so that we'll get gap between border and index and bar, this part. This is padding and this is margin. So that is how it looks. That is what box model it is. So I even we have table thing that to be discussed. I'll just show the code and I'll explain everything. This is the table HTML code which we have learned from our HTML session. So without this is what it looks like without using any CSS code. And if I refresh the page, so if I refresh the page, we can see a better image than the previous one. So I'll walk you through the code. So here, what I have done is table. We have got table layout as fixed so that the columns will be varied as per the content present in the columns and rows. So that if I keep fixed, we can adjust accordingly. We can keep text align as center and all those stuff. And border. I have got 3 pixel solid and purple color. And the enter child is an like a property in HTML that is we'll get for every first child. This property will be applied. So the first one is we have used letter spacing so that we can get a clear image. And text align is center. And we have used font family here. If you observe, we have used 2 font family. That is because if in Windows and in Apple, many fonts may not be available. So that if first font is not available, the second font will apply. So that is why we have written 2 fonts. And padding is 20%. Font size is italic. Caption size is bottom. Letter spacing. All those stuff has been discussed. So table will be looking like this if we apply our CSS. If you have any doubts, please do ask. What else, right? So I'll copy the code and I'll keep it in the Teams channel so that at least you'll practice. And please feel free to check out the properties as I said earlier, so that you'll get more info about what are the properties which we can use for a background text and all those stuff. And that's it. Thank you.